Hello, and thanks for listening to the Conscious Diva podcast. I'm your host, Tatiana, and in today's episode, the original love guru herself, Arielle Ford, joins me as we step into the quiet magic of her latest book, a novel called The Love Thief. This is a story of heartbreak, healing, and the unexpected transformations that reveal who we truly are, all set in one of my favorite places in the world, Rishikesh, India. This isn't simply a tale of love lost and found, it's a journey through the inner landscapes we often avoid, yet somehow long to explore. Arielle invites us to consider the subtle ways life redirects us, how endings can open doorways, and how the heart mends itself in its own mysterious ways. So, join me as we explore the luminous, mystical path woven through the love thief in this beautiful story that reminds us that sometimes the universe breaks us open only to reveal the truth we were always meant to find. And if you enjoyed this episode, please write a review and follow me on Instagram at The Conscious Diva and on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Well, Arielle, it's so lovely to have you here today. Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes, the love thief. And we have a really serendipitous connection as to how we came together with the artwork of your first book. And, well, I should say your first novel.
Yes, yes, my first
Yeah.
novel.
Let's talk about this cool. This was so cool. This is my friend on the cover of your book.
I know, it was so crazy. So I originally self-published this book and I hired the designer to do that cover. And then all of a sudden I got an email from this woman named Monia. And where country is she in? Serbia?
It's Serbia. Yeah.
Serbia, right, Serbia. And she writes to me, I am the girl on the cover of your book, and the story that you wrote is my story. And I was like, what is she talking about? And then she sent me this picture. Wait, can you see it?
Yeah, yeah. Hold it closer across more. Okay.
Right? And she said, that's me. So I immediately called my book cover designer. It's like, where did we get this picture that you turned into that? And she said, oh, yeah, we licensed it from a professional, whatever it was. So Moni and I got on the phone. We got on a Zoom together, and it turns out she had gone to Rishikesh, India to do a yoga teacher training where she was love bombed by a toxic narcissist yoga instructor and suffered all the things that my protagonist, Holly, in my book went through. And there were just all of these things happening at once. Now, the part of the story you don't know is while I'm on Zoom with her having this conversation, my tech guy, Steve, was here working on something in my office. And he was sitting on the floor of the office. And he pipes up and he says, I'm going to be in Belgrade next week. Let me take Monia a copy of the book. I was like, how does this happen? So it was just this synchronicity. I've got goosebumps now just talking about it. And as you can see, the book has a new cover because it was picked up by Hay House. And they didn't change a word of the book, but they did give it a new cover. And then it came out a couple of months ago. So that's the connection you and I have, which is just bizarre. And I think it was actually Hay House that connected us to do this interview.
Well, it's here are the two covers.
Yeah.
And I feel like the illustration almost still has the vibe, the energy of Monia, because I know her and how she stands and how
Yeah.
people kind of move. And it was so beautiful because I was actually doing Linda Servitson's book writers course
Uh-huh.
with her, and she had posted your book, this one, the original cover.
Yeah. And I've
And
known Linda since 1994. She and her sister and I, we're like sisters, the three of us.
so that's how I first discovered it. And then I immediately went, hang on a second, that looks a lot like Monia. And so I forwarded it to her and said, is this you on the cover of this book? And then we were kind of having a look, reading the description together because the book I don't think it had been released or maybe almost released.
Yeah.
And and she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. That's like I had such a similar experience at that time. And just there was so much magic and synchronicity in that. And so I love that this came together for us. And yes, Hay House did connect and provide the second
I know.
book. But yeah, the
Sometimes
new
you
version.
really think there really only are 10 people on the planet. That, we're just all so interconnected like a tapestry.
Yeah. So I love reading this story, and it's I think for a lot of people are familiar with your beautiful, I don't want to call them self-help books, but they're soul.
Yeah, they pretty much are self-help books. I did 11 nonfiction books. Half of them were a series called Hot Chocolate for the Mystical Soul. There was a series there, and then I started writing about how I became a first-time bride at 44, and that was the soulmate secret. And then there were books after that about, oh my God, I manifested my soulmate, but how am I going to keep him? Because I have no partnership skills. So that became another series of books. So I've been writing pretty much my whole life.
And that was a bestseller too, an international bestseller, right?
Yes, it really was. It just took off like wildfire. It was crazy.
And so this is your debut novel. I love the story at the your personal story, your account of when you were in India and how you started to receive the download to write a novel. I think that I
Yes,
can
yeah,
relate to that.
it
Like India
showed
is a
up
magical
in
place.
my head like a movie, a very persistent movie that wouldn't go away. And this week I just found out that Amazon MGM Studios has now optioned The Love Thief for a limited series, or hopefully it won't be too limited. So that's now in process and going to move forward. So it's all been wild and crazy and very fun
I love
and
that.
what I love most about having done this, because it's so different. I mean, I knew I could write nonfiction, but I didn't know a thing about writing fiction, and it's not the same, is that I'm getting so much feedback from readers who've had similar experiences where they've had their heart broken and their dreams crushed by a toxic narcissist, and they found so much solace and healing by following Holly's story.
Mm,
Because the thing I love best about Holly is she's a non-believer.
mm.
Holly is the only daughter of a new age baby booming woo-woo, goes to every Esther Hicks cruise on the planet kind of person. And her daughter, Holly, rejects all of it. She doesn't want to hear about meditation or yoga or green drinks. That is not her thing. And her mother used to hang dream catchers over her crib. So she ends up in India not because Rishikesh is the yoga meditation capital of the universe, but because she's a chef and she wants to learn how to cook Indian comfort foods. And
Yeah.
while she's there, as fate would have it, she starts to have these mystical spiritual experiences that heal her on every single level and change her life completely.
I read the book. It's a quick read because as you really do get into it and track along. And because I love India and have been many times and have been to many of the places and know a lot of the people you describe and mention in the book, I was totally just taken with it. And at the end, I because I'm also a romantic, I cried.
Listen, I wrote the thing. I've read it 50 times when I was line editing it. I still cry when I get to the last page of the book. And I know what's coming. And it always surprises me. It's like, what are you crying for? You wrote this. You know how it's going to end. And it still moves me. I was hoping as I was writing that the book would be coated with love and light and healing. And somehow, you know, people on the other side channeled that through me.
I love it. And and that's because it was downloaded to you in India. That's what I believe. Because as you know
Yeah.
from your own experiences there, it really is a magical place. And you have so beautifully interwoven that for the reader. And it was amazing because like I just said, I've been there many times. So as you're describing Rishikesh and a hotel on the banks of the Ganga, then of which there are many, but that view there where you've got Lakshman Jewel on one side and you've got Ramjul, the other bridge down the other end, and across you have the ashrams, and the color up there, up
Right.
towards the Himalayas, is that incredible shade. There's what was the crystal chrysoprase that you describe it as being the shade of,
Yes,
and it truly is. And that's this almost this jade green with a hint of turquoise in it. That's nothing like the Ganga that's way down,
right.
further in the middle of the country. And it's just there is a magic when you give yourself over to Ma Ganga, to the goddess of the waters, and allow yourself and ask for her blessing and the permission. So there was so much of that as a visual, as someone who's been there, and Vastiva's cave and the whole experience of going into the
Right.
darkness there, and then going into the water there, and Satvi, of course, Sapiji and Swamiji over at Pamatnikitan, and what that arti is like. And so I'd love just explain, share a little bit about your experience when you went to India. When was the first time? Is
Well,
it?
I've been to India at least 8 times, starting in 1996, and so I've really watched it change. And I've been to Rishikesh at least 5 times. So I really love that place and feel like I'm at home when I'm there. And I'm curated a tour of India. It's called the Love Thief Tour. So if anybody wants to go to India and walk in Holly's footsteps, they
Mm.
can just go to my website and there's information there about that. But yes, they say the veils are thinner in India, and I've found that to be true. No matter what part of India I'm in, whether it's the south or the north or whatever. I remember walking around Mount Arunachala under the full moon of Pongal one night with Deepak Chopra. And we were circumambulating this like 13-kilometer walk with 500,000 pilgrims on this holy night. And in the middle of it, Deepak stops and he looks at me and he has this wild look in his face and he says, in India, spirit is not hard to find. It's impossible to avoid. And that's really true.
It really is true.
Yeah.
And you feel that like the minute you step out of the airport, whichever airport you've arrived into the country from,
Yes.
there's just this immediate, like there's the chaos, of course, if you're arriving in a big
Right.
city, and there's nothing like that anywhere in the world, really. But if you're going from Delhi or Mumbai even to Dehradun, and you describe even the Dehradun airport.
Yes, which is so ultra modern and beautiful and unlike India in a lot
Yeah,
of ways, but it's a
yeah.
perfect little airport. Yeah, I remember the first time I got to the Delhi airport, and it was 1996, and friends of mine who had been there were trying to warn me about what it was going to be like when I stepped outside of customs, what that chaos and noise and smells, like what I was going to get hit with. And I tried to imagine it, but the doors opened and it was 3 in the morning and there was this huge crowd of people. And I swear I saw an elephant, and there's people shouting and all these women dressed in jewelry and beautiful, colorful saris, and everybody's waving and hugging and kissing. And it's got a particular deli smell
Mhm.
that is actually gone now because I was just there a few months ago. That deli smell is gone. But you knew where you were. And I was like, I love this place. Now, I have to explain that I hate Disneyland. Disneyland is my least favorite, least happiest place on the planet. I hate everything about Disneyland because it's all false and phony and contrived and made out of cement and paper mache. But you throw me into India and stick me on a street corner, whether it's Mumbai or Bangalore or wherever, and I will be entertained for 6 hours watching the sounds and the people go by
Yeah.
and the oxen drawing carriages with 10 feet of hay stacked of it and the skinny, dirty cows. And it's just the most magical place ever. And if anybody has if they have the inkling, I want to go to India, you should go. And
Yeah.
if your thought about going to India is, oh my God, no, then don't go because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you feel the pull to go there, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's true. I first went there for I used to be a TV producer, so I went years ago for a shoot, and we were there for a couple of weeks, and I just thought this is incredible. I need to come back when I'm not working so I can really take it in. And the next year I came back, and I've been almost every year since by myself in the last 10 years. And I go by myself, and I've had a lot, and I know I've made really, it's so easy to meet people and make sincere, authentic friends there because
Yes.
just things connect you, as you know, and you even describe some of those with one of the characters in the book with Deepak. Just
Yeah.
that serendipitous, exchange where you come in and people recognize your heart, they recognize your soul and the experience you're having, or the experience you perhaps don't even realize you're seeking, but yet
Right.
they magically unfold for you so you can lean into that and have these realizations. So I've made amazing friends over the years. So when I travel there by myself, I've never had a worry or a concern as a female being by myself. And I often say that to other women. It's you can find yourself in danger anywhere in the world. Not that you're intentionally seeking it, but you have to just have an awareness. I'm never going to walk around by myself in India at 10 o'clock at night and go down an alleyway. But I also am not going to do that down the street, in other parts of Europe, say. I grew up in Sydney, and there's parts of Sydney I wouldn't even do that in, or New York City
Right.
where I lived for a really long time. So it's that I think you just needed to have that awareness and not kind of, you know, wide-eyed
Yeah,
just
I don't
walk
find
around.
India dangerous at all, and you're right. When you're traveling, you just have to have what does it my husband call it, some kind of specific awareness that I don't have a lot of. Uh, so what's your favorite part of India?
So oh my gosh. Okay, so the whole country is incredible.
Yeah,
What I find so unique is that, and I guess Europe has it, even America has that. All the states are very different. So when you go to India, all the states are very different.
yeah,
Kerala in the south has the beautiful, lush forests and even go the beaches, incredible oceans that there on the Indian Ocean. Then you have Bengal, and there's this mysticism to Bengal that's so different to the north of India, to the Himalayas, to Rishikesh. That is almost, there's like this energy of Kali that you can tune into, and it's just so. I mean, I love it. I love that because I'm very into the goddesses, and I love to practice with the goddesses, and I'm really into the tantric practice. But I'm actually, but the North um, also calls me a lot, and that's where I tend to go when I'm visiting because I know a lot of people there, and there is an incredible magic and stillness that can be experienced there, even though you still hear the monkeys and the traffic and the sounds. It's nothing like being in the cities, which are
right.
filled with millions of people. There's congestion, there's pollution, there's, so much going on all the time. You can sit in a car for an hour somewhere that's meant to really take you only 10, 15 minutes because the traffic is so intense. But up in the mountains, there's just this peace, and you can, you can just see all the ranges, all the mountain
Yeah,
ranges, and they're staggered in a sense. They begin there, but then similarly to how the Flatirons in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, there's that front face, and then they build and become the Rockies and go all the way north. The Himalayas have that similar energy, but intensified in this beautiful,
okay.
expansive way. And so it's such an amazing feeling when you arrive, when you get out and you're greeted by the person picking you up at the airport, whether it's a driver for where you're staying or a friend, and you just feel immediately that energy, that like, yes, I'm home, like this
Yeah.
feeling. I'm where I'm meant to be.
The only place I never felt at home was we were in the train station at Delhi at like 4 in the morning to get, I think I don't remember exactly why we were getting on a train there, but it was dark and it was cold and there were fires. There were all these
Oh,
homeless people there, and it was smoky and it was so terrifying. And I thought, oh my God, I've entered Dante's Inferno. It was just the freakiest thing ever. And Mumbai. I've been to Mumbai a couple times. I hope to never go back because there's 1 million people per square mile. It's just so intense and crowded. And there are beautiful places to stay, like we stayed at the Taj, which is breathtaking and beautiful. But you go walking around, and I was just freaking out. So I stay out of Mumbai and middle of the night train stations.
Yeah, I've actually never taken a train in India, uh, because I've had that similar story told to me a number of times,
Yeah.
and even daytime experiences. So, and unless they say unless you are with some men, or in a bigger
Yeah.
group, don't, you know, if
Yeah,
you
we were with a
don't
group
need
and
to.
there were plenty of men, so it was fine.
But it is I don't know, it's just. Right, there's just something about it that speaks to my soul. My teacher is actually not Indian. He's Nepali, and he's a 27th generation Nepalese shaman. So I go further in the Himalayas into Nepal, and the energy is very, very different between Nepal and India. It's a
Yeah.
completely different space. You wouldn't think so, but at least I didn't think so. I didn't expect that the first time I went to Nepal, but it's so different. So what with your story, you mentioned your friend Satviji,
Yes.
and I love that she's in the story and she's a real person. Tell
Yes.
me a little bit about that. Was that the idea that came to you?
Um,
Or
well,
was
what
it
happened
spontaneous?
was we were there in 2010 and I had about 12 of my friends with me. We had taken a small group and we went to the arti ceremony at Parmath Nikatan. And at the end of it, I had told everybody, meet us under the big arch entry to the ashram because, it's a large crowd and we were split up. And as I'm standing there waiting for my people to gather, I see this woman in orange robes walk past me very quickly. And I recognize her. And I recognized her because I'd seen her in an HBO special about India. And I just yelled out to her, I was like, hey, I know you. And she turned around with this big smile on her face and she said, would you like to meet the guru? And I said, yes. And she said, well, follow me. And I said, I have 12 friends. Bring them on. So we got everybody together. We followed her in. She took us to this private little outdoor setting with Swamiji. And the two of them sat down in front of us and basically said, ask us anything. So we started to ask questions. And every time we asked a question, we directed it to Swamiji. And then he would just go like this and have Swamiji answer.
Yeah, I know that move.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after about an hour, she said, you all must be hungry. Let's feed you. And she takes us into a private dining room where we have this incredible vegan, vegetarian, Indian meal. And she comes back in and says, follow me. Swamiji has gifts for you. So we go back to the same place and we each get this bag with books and pictures and prasad and all kinds of goodies and
Mm.
ask more questions. And now we've been there like 3 hours. And finally, it's like time for us to leave. And Sadhviji takes us to this other room where she's getting our email addresses and giving us more gifts. And I pulled her aside and I said to her, would you ask Swamiji to do special puja for my sister? She's very ill. And she takes me by the hand and she said, ask him yourself. And she takes me back to him where he does this whole ritual and gives me more prasad and all of that. So now we leave, we go back to our little motel. And when we arrive, I think it was like 11 at night or midnight. And this is 2010, so I don't have an international cell phone. But my friend who was with us does. And that was the number my mother had. My mother calls and she said, you have to come home immediately. It's the end. You need to come home. We can't wait. Now, as you know, you can't just go to the airport and jump on a flight home. It doesn't work that way, especially when you're in wedding season, which it was. Anyway, somehow we end up going to the airport. We get on a flight to Mumbai. We don't know that there are two airports in Mumbai. And so now we're at the wrong airport and there's like this torrential downpour and we're in this tuk-tuk getting wet. We get to the airport, there's like one flight that's going to go to Dubai that will go to the States. And they're telling us we can't get on the flight. And I'm like sobbing hysterically. My sister's dying. I have to get on the flight. Somehow we get on the flight. We're on the flight home and my husband gets deathly ill. That's a whole other story. He ended up nearly dying. But we get home, and then the next day, my friend, uh, my sister's doctor calls. And he said, I know you just got back from India. What did you do there? What happened? And I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, 36 hours ago, we thought your sister was at the end. She couldn't speak, she couldn't open her eyes. And then 12 hours ago, something happened and she sat up and she's doing much better. You were in India. What happened? And I said, well, we were at this ashram and there was this guru and this holy woman and they did something. Well, who was the guru? I don't know. I don't know their names. I can't remember. I'm like out of my mind. I haven't slept. My husband's deathly ill. And then my friend Marcy Shimoff calls like a minute later. And I was like, okay, Marcy, this is what happened. And the doctor wants to know where I was. And I don't know where I was. And I don't know who I was with. And she said, I'll tell you, you were with the Paramath Nikatan Ashram. You were with uh, Munjaya, Swamiji, such and such. And the woman you were with was Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I'm writing all this down. And then I get an email and it's from Sadhvi. And she said, I wanted to make sure you got home okay. How's your sister doing? And by the way, I'm going to fly to San Diego in 5 days, and I'm going to come and stay with you, and then we'll visit your sister, and I'm going to bring her more healing stuff. So
Mm.
that's how she became my best friend. She flew from India to San Diego and spent a weekend with us. And then 2 weeks later, she came back and she brought Swamiji with her.
Wow.
So that was in 2010, and we've been best friends ever since. So in The Love Thief, her character is a real person and it's her real name. And if you go on this Love Thief tour of India, you can have a meeting with, I've arranged for her to meet with whoever goes on that tour.
Oh, and that'll be so special because meeting with them, it is a very unique experience. It almost feels like you're in a kingdom and that they're like royalty, like of this
Yeah.
mystical land. And it's all it's not just want to find the right words. It's like a kingdom that's like a love-filled kingdom, right? This expanded experience of just overflowing of kindness, really, and
Yes.
love, and
And
everybody
it's beautiful, and the
beautiful.
food is amazing.
Mm,
And every night, 7 nights a week, there's an arti ceremony on the banks of Ganga with 80 little boys in their yellow robes who are singing and chanting and
mm.
playing the tabla. And then there's a satsang, and it's just pure magic, and it's unlike any other experience you could ever conceive happening here in the United States.
No, it's true. It's so true. So let's just explain what the RT is, because you come down, you explain it a little bit on in the book, but there when you're really in that moment and those steps go all the way down to the Ganga, then there's that platform in front of you that has the giant Shiva statue that's
Yes.
been washed away a number of times and always put back when it's
Yes.
been huge rains. It's part spectacle, but very much a holy spiritual experience of
Yeah.
oneness. And you feel that with all of the people, all of the guests. There's guests that have been invited, and then there's just passers-by who come and sit just and become a part of it. And then there's the offerings with the ghee lights,
Yes,
which
it's a
are
full-on puja with the
amazing.
chanting of the ancient, in a church they would call them hymns, but they're, prayers and songs of devotion. And then there's, the music and the tablas and the other things. And then they have these gigantic brass urns that are on fire, and
Mhm.
you're doing all kinds of rituals with the fire. And if you're one of the special guests, they hand it
Get
to
to
you, and you get to do it
do it.
too.
Yeah.
And it's just you're in this oneness vibe that is just, really life altering, because the vibration and the frequency of the chanting and the music and the flow of the Ganga and the fire and the incense is just, pure magic.
Yes.
And it's just absolutely beautiful. And like I said, it happens 7 nights a week. And being there is spectacular. And down the road a piece in Hardwar, there's another
Yes.
artiste ceremony going on that's as different and as crazy as this one,
Hmm.
and much louder.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one's like louder and wetter. No matter where you're sitting, you're going to get wet.
Yeah, I've been to that one a couple of times. That's
Yeah, yeah,
actually insane. And
yeah.
whoa. And you can then also you can make the offerings and have
Yes, they sell you these
the flower.
little flower things that are in woven palm leaf baskets, and they're filled with flower petals and incense and little candles. And then you offer up your prayers and your wishes and your hopes and your dreams, and it floats away to the Ganga. So you can do that as well. So you don't have to make a spiritual experience happen. You just have to show up, and
Mhm.
you're going to trip over it. It's just going to occur naturally.
And that's the beautiful thread throughout your book, throughout The Love Thief, is that, as you said earlier, this is a character who's a non-believer, not even a seeker, doesn't know
Right.
what she's seeking. And then she arrives in India to learn to cook Indian food. And you've beautifully interwoven the moments that are showing up in her life to that are presenting themselves so that she can become aware and
Yes.
see those. And so as I was reading this, I just thought, oh, I hope people who are maybe skeptical of these experiences take away that this is because you've really based them on real people, real
Yes.
experiences there, and they truly do happen. There's a reason people talk about India in this way because you go there and it is life changing. I've had so many life changing moments over the years for myself that have gone, whoa, look, I know it's because I've been there for the last 3 weeks. You know, it's cool. So I hope that is translated when your book is adapted into a TV show, into a series, because that's such an important aspect, I think, being able
Oh,
to
yeah. We
understand.
will definitely be filming in Rishikesh. I had a talk with the producers about it yesterday, because I was explaining to them, now when we shoot, we have to be there between November 1st and mid-March. If we go any other time, we're either going to be blown away by the monsoons or we're going to die of the heat and the humidity. So just put that on the calendar now as plans are being made. This is the window where we can go to Rishikesh and shoot. I don't want to be there for monsoon season. No, thank you.
No, that's a different experience.
Yeah.
I have not. I've only ever been at the tail end of it, and it's incredible how if you've ever seen Monsoon Wedding, like that's a great example of how much
Right.
the torrential rain that happens.
Yeah.
Just the
Well, I
whole.
grew up in South Florida, so I've experienced that level of rain. But it only happens for a few days and then it blows over. But to have a couple of months, day after day, where the skies open up and the floods come, it's like too
Yeah.
much.
It's monsoon season, right? They
Yeah,
say they have six
exactly.
seasons there. So when does this go into production? Are you doing that now?
There's so many things that have to happen. I was getting the whole schedule yesterday, so we don't know exactly when that happens. I'm thinking it's going to take somewhere in the 2-year range,
Okay.
but it took 5.5 years to write the book, So I'm not in any hurry. In the meantime, India's not going anywhere. You know,
No,
it's
no.
available for anybody who really wants to have a heart opening, mind expanding, soul enriching experience. Get your ass to India.
On your website, you have a lot of great offerings, and one of them, which I thought was kind of cute, is the Queen Ager. And
Yeah.
what else have you got on your website that you can share with us?
I have an entire section called free stuff. So that's at the top of the website. And a lot of it is what I call feelingizations. So they're like guided meditations for, opening up to new love, recovering from heartbreak, healing your body, just different things I've put together over the years. So there's lots of fun stuff there.
And how did you become a soulmate matchmaker, essentially?
Um, it was not on my to-do list at all. What happened was I woke up one morning when I was 43 And I was just lying in bed with my eyes closed and I was feeling around the bed looking for my 25-pound cat, and the cat wasn't there. And I started to notice, oh my God, there's just this big empty expanse of bed, just me in this empty bed. And I thought, oh no, I forgot to get married. And
Really? That was the thought you
that
had?
was the thought I forgot to get married. And I started thinking about, well, how did I had this very successful PR firm in Beverly Hills. I was a book publicist. And I thought, well, how did I build the business? And I thought, oh, well, I manifested it. And I started making pages of notes of all the prayers and processes and rituals I had done to manifest this successful business. And I thought, well, I'm just going to apply all this to my love life. And it worked, within a short amount of time, I manifested this dreamy guy. We've now been together 28, 29 years. And all of a sudden, women over 40 started asking me, how did you do it? How do I get a Brian? So I started sharing my process and it worked for them. And then I was speaking on a cruise for my sister who had this big following of coaches. And she said, tell everybody how you manifested your soulmate. So I told this like 45-minute story. And when it was over, 200 women rushed the stage and said, I've got to have that book. I want to do that. So I wrote a book called The Soulmate Secret, and it was sort of an instant bestseller. And it's in 20 languages and 40 countries, and it just sort of took off. And then suddenly I started getting requests from Omega Institute and Esalen and the Chopra Center to come do workshops.
Mm.
So I started doing workshops. So it all just sort of organically turned into this new career of being a love expert, and ended up writing about, okay, here's how you find love, here's how you keep love, here's how you be love. And now at this point in my life, I feel like I've pretty much completed everything I have to say about that. And I have lots of videos on my YouTube channel. So it's all available for free. I don't sell courses. I don't have a funnel. I'm not out there pitching and marketing and selling. I don't do coaching anymore. But at this point, my big interest is really like, how do we take this beautiful story of finding love and resurrection and put it onto TVs? That's like my project for the next few years.
No, that's awesome. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot around alignment and aligning with the right person. And I think as you talk about in this character, she has this kind of a bucket list for herself,
She
right?
wants the picket fence. She
Yeah.
wants it all. She wants the husband, the two kids, the golden retriever. She has this fantasy Disney-esque life of
Yeah.
what she wants, and she almost gets there. And when she finds out that it's the wrong guy, she is crushed. But ultimately, what she gets is so much better.
Hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I had been married for 28 years when I got married in my early 20s. And I recently left my husband because he's also a narcissist and I just my soul was really like, I've had enough. And your soul just tells you you have to
Yeah.
tune in. And that's part of when all the visits I was in India, I was really tuning into that, feeling it. And I love how you've got Holly's higher self speaking to her once she gives over to that. She's tuning into that awareness. And so I would have these messages told to me, and I was feeling that as truth in my entire being as I was sitting there experiencing all that is. And I just couldn't ignore it. And it was to a point where I was just like, I have to make a choice now. I have to step into this, in midlife. I'm in my early 50s now. I'm like, it's time. And so I made that decision.
Chances are karmically you and your husband were meant to bring these children into the world. You had contracts to fulfill, which you did. And then I believe that even soulmate relationships can have an expiration date.
Mm,
This one came with an expiration date. Doesn't mean anybody necessarily did anything wrong. You just lived out your contract together, and now you made yourself open, willing, and available for the next.
yeah, that's exactly how I view it too. I'm like, the contract is and I don't call it a contract, I say an agreement. The
Yeah.
agreement has run its course now, and it's
Yeah.
time. And I literally saw that as a a cord like dissolving
Yeah.
and recoiling, coming back into myself, and that there's the other one like going off. And so it's been a kind of a magical experience. And is there anything else you would like to talk about in terms of love or relationships or your book?
I would just say that, if you're someone who has been betrayed by a lover, a partner, a husband, a wife, whatever, and you can identify them as a sociopath or a toxic narcissist, just know you didn't do anything wrong. These people are smart and they're charming and they're charismatic and they target particular kinds of women. Smart, attractive, successful women get targeted. So if it happened to you, let go of any beliefs that you had that you did something bad or wrong. And then you can open yourself up to not make that mistake again.
For your advice there and sharing. And then when is your trip to India? Do
Well,
those
I'm
start?
actually not going to be on this trip, but I got the world's greatest guide tour of India. His name is Roger Gabriel. Roger ran all of Deepak Chopra's meditation trainings for 40 years and has been to India every year for 40 years. He's just incredible. So the trip leaves out of Delhi on March 15th. And if you go to athmatours.com, ATHMA tours.com, the tour is there. You can look it up and see what it is. And like I said, there'll be a private meeting with Sadhviji there. You'll go to the place behind Vishesta's cave where Holly has her Santosha experience. You'll get to do all of these amazing things.
Maharishi's
You know,
ashram.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. In a really safe, fun group of like-minded people. It'll be a small group. I'm guessing at the most it would be 15, 18 people.
Okay. And are you doing that every year? And will you
No,
ever?
this is a one time only.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So this is a very unique experience to be able to have that.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.